Yo, just a quick rundown of the fight. Basically, we're going to be going for Frida first, then Stavros, then Niklaus. And here is just a quick, I say quick, it's an 8-minute fight regardless. So the boss gets pulled down, we're going to be using Navilat's AMZ, Talajan's Spirit Link, and Chunky's Aura. We use it at around the 2-second mark, just to make sure that everything's down. 3/4 seconds into the fight, the people with Dancing Fever get chosen. 3 people are going to jump and cleanse their stacks. After that, the next 2 people spawn. The attendant first spawns at 5 seconds in. If you take a look at the top right, they have 2 boomkins who aren't in the group. First of all, we need to see whether they get chosen for Dancing Fever, because if they do, they need to be inside. But if not, the boomkins then run all the way back, probably use Wild Charge to disengage out of there, get as far away from the bosses as possible so that when you convoke, it's only going to hit the attendant. And this is why the attendant comes in with only 12% health, because they had 2 boomkins full convoke. Uh, 17 seconds into the fight, we're going to stack for Recital. That means everybody just stays there. And with the weak aura, when it's time to do the Dark Recital there, you'll get an arrow whether to go left or to run around the boss. People without it stay around it, and then everybody just runs in. The tanks have to be in a specific area to make sure Stavros doesn't lunge through the people doing Recital. So make sure that you stutter step in just to avoid that lunge that happens at 28 seconds, and give the tank some birth. "38 seconds into the fight, rephase it. Standard dance. Ends at 1:12. We start preparing for the next Dancing Fever. This is going to be Vex's AMZ and Shane's Spirit Link. And then again, 3 people jump, leave the last 2 people to jump afterwards. 1:30 if the attendant spawns. Range should be switching. And once it's in melee range, everybody switches. 1:42, we stack up for Recital, and same again. The interrupts will be in the RT notes, but it's mainly going to be people with ranged interrupts, because once we kill Frida, she's going to respawn during the fight and possibly at range, depending on how we have to move, and it'll be a lot easier for ranged interrupts to be grabbing those. So just for people that are unaware about the Dark Recital, when you run right around the boss, you go clockwise around while stutter stepping. If the whole group of people with Recital moves together like they're doing, nobody should die. See how slow they're going. Uh, 2:17 into the fight, Frida dies. So the ad has spawned there for the UFO attendant, but because the boss has died, it's now going to target one of the other bosses, so it needs to be focused. We, at 2:20, we get a pre-Dancing Fever. This time it's going to be Nab's AMZ and Dav's Barrier. Same again, 3 people jump and then 2 afterwards. waiters spawning at 2 minutes 31. Use monk grips, ring of peace to try and move ones closer in. Basically it's going to be big cleave. You don't really want to swap away from the bosses for the waiters. And we need to keep A-bomb limbs for harder spawns, so the ones that require the A-bomb limbs start at around 2 minutes 55, so if you want to pop them on pull for that extra DPS then that's fine, but just make sure that you're not popping them otherwise. The way I have it written down is that we use nabs at 2 minutes 55 and we're going to use vexes at 4 minutes 55, so okay, so we can actually use vexes at 2 minutes 30 as well. Cool. So yeah, vexes will be used on this one once they're mostly in range to bring them all in. And then again at 4 minutes 55. And Nabalats first start at 2 minutes 55. We stack up for Recito again. See these waiters, this is why they need to be brought in. So whenever these waltzers come down, we may or may not move the boss depending on what sort of formation it is. Right now they do move because they're only going to stay in that area. This is probably the worst one to get. You need to move out of it ASAP. So probably a Raw or something just to get us all out of it, because we need to move fast, because also we're going to get another Dark Recito. Attendant spawns, same again, just range swap to it. And once it's in melee range, everybody should be swapping. This is a hard focus every time an attendant is up, because otherwise we're just going to miss out on boss damage. So don't be fucking padding on the waiters that are still alive. You can see that the attendant's going down a lot faster. It's single target nuke. 3 minutes 11, more attendants will spawn, waiters. Start preparing for the next Dancing Fever. So for this one it's going to be Vex's AMZ and Chunky's Devil Aura. Three people jump and then the following two afterwards. And then we phase it to 50%. So 4 minutes 11, it ends. And we're back in for the next part. 4 minutes 20, we're going to stack for the first Recito. There's no point gripping in these ones, apart from obviously just your standard death grip to bring them in. So you might want to just make a mouse over macro for it. Otherwise just leave it for people with dots and shit to bang them up, especially when they're that low. Attendant spawns in, it's going to be first target, and during that Dark Recito you need to make sure that you run around the boss again. It will just become second nature. The waltz comes down, we may or may not move depending on what's happening. I believe this one's fine because it's the two sets of squares that are rotating, so you can stay there. For the Dancing Fever that just went out, that is 4 minutes 30. Talajan Spirit Link and Spirit Shell is going to be one of the ones which we don't have a proper cooldown for, but we do need to start saving them from there. Especially if there's no waiters, we can deal with it quite easy. So the next set of waiters are going to be the next mechanic to spawn in. You see we're doing the single death grips there. Once most of these are in range, that's when 4 minutes 55, Vex will pop a bomb limb to bring them in. And because the boss is low, it's mostly boss damage we're looking for to try and skip another Dancing Fever, the one that happens 18 seconds from now. But also just make sure that you're doing some cleave, but mostly boss damage. So 5 minutes 10, we're going to get another Attendant, which is the hard switch. We kite it a little bit so that the Attendant takes a bit more damage and you get a bit more boss damage. Everybody should be swapping to it at this point once it starts that channel. Stack up for the recital. We also get a Dancing Fever during this. This one is going to be Nabalat's AMZ and Lee's Devil Aura. We don't deal with the Dancing Fever while the Dark Recital is happening. So we move out of it. If you don't have it at this point, you can be jumping, but for the most part I reckon we should wait for the recital to finish before we deal with it. So that was Stavros going down. So the second Stavros is dead and people are into position where we've just repositioned because of the waltzes that have come down. Around the 5 minutes 38 into the 5 minute 40 mark, that's when we pop Bloodlust. These waiters are going to spawn and that's Nabalat's A-bomb limb. 5 minutes 48 into the fight, we're going to get the Tankard that comes down. We're going to have a knockback that happens. We need to drop Windrush for this, so it's going to be Shane's. If the waltzes are up, you need to make sure that you not got your back to them when the Tankard comes down, because that happens. And if you get knocked through the waltzes, you're fucking gonna, mate. Restack up. Attendant spawns. Tank ad is #1 priority until the Attendant reaches the boss, and then it's Attendant back to tank ad. More waiters have spawned. We move the boss to the waiters. Stack for the recital. Sorry, just let me go back for that one. Once we deal with that, and we bring most of them in, we stack up for a recital. This is probably the most hectic phase of the fight. And then you just deal with the Dark Recital. After the Dark Recital is finished, we're going to get Dancing Fever. That's 6 minutes 16 into the fight. So 6 minutes 20 we get Dancing Fever. It's going to be Vex's AMZ, Dav's Barrier and Shane's Spirit Link. Deal with it 3 and 20, be focused in the Attendant. So 6 minutes 35, we're going to get the second Tankard. So what you can see here is that the boss is at 53%. So whoever's tanking the ad at the time needs to move it towards the middle of the room. If we phase it a bit slow like we've done here, we will get a recital during this. Just deal with it. Try and stay with your partner, but just survive. During this transition, the ad stays there and it can be DPS, so that's why we move it to the centre of the room to avoid shit RNG. So deal with the dance while pumping the fucking ad. So 7 minutes 22, the dance ends. We move back in. We have waiters that are left over. The next ones are in 20 seconds. We're going to get Dancing Fever that comes out at we get the Dancing Fever that happens at 7 minutes 30. This is Nabalat's AMZ, Chunky's Devo and Talajan's Spirit Link. Once we've dealt with it, that's going to be Vex's A-bomb limb to bring the ads in. Depending on what it's looking like, we may hold it off for the next set of ads, but that'll be on the spot call. You can see where Frida's spawning in away from the raid. That's why we have ranged focusing the interrupts. Kite the boss away from the ad just to get more boss and ad damage in. Make sure we're focusing that. 7 minutes, 8 minutes into the fight, we're going to get the tank ad drops. This is one of the more dangerous ones because at 8 minutes 05 we also need to stack for a recito. So Windrush gets dropped preemptively because the tank ad comes, knocks everybody back. There's waiters in the back. We stack up for the next recito, which is going to happen after this. The attendant also spawns during this time. So you can see as we do the dance. Once the dance is over, we need to deal with the attendant first. And at this point, depending on whether the boss is low or not, we will either kill or kite the ad that is spawned. At this point, the last attendant of the fight should spawn in. Make sure it's focused. As you can see, he's tanking the kite, so he's kiting the tank ad. Focus that. The second tank ad comes in. It's just going to be up to whatever choice we made, whether we killed the previous tank ad or whether we're kiting it. But whoever's kiting it will have to tank the new one that spawned in. And we also get the Dark Reciter that comes out during that knockback. At this point, everything goes out the fucking window. Just survive. And kill the boss and GG. No worry.